Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into something big. It's about money, sure, but it's also about where we're all headed. The topic is financing the future.
That's right.
Our mission today, to explore how finance itself, everything from huge investment strategies right down to, our own choices is changing, or how it could change to build a world that's, more sustainable, fair, and innovative. We're looking beyond just the usual profit stuff and asking, how can capital actually build a better tomorrow?
And our guide for this is an article called Financing the Future, which features insights from George Bickerstaff. He's a global leader in healthcare, tech, and finance.
Okay.
And Bickerstaff really nails the core idea with this powerful line. He says, capital is not just a tool. It's a vote for the kind of world we want to build.
Wow, okay. A vote.
Yeah, think about that. Every financial move, big or small, isn't just numbers on a screen. It's like actively choosing a version of the future. It really flips the script on what money's for.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Financing the future. Sounds massive. What's the fundamental shift Bickerstaff is talking about here? Is it really a whole new game or more like an evolution of finance?
It's definitely an evolution, but one with pretty radical implications, I'd say. At its heart, it means consciously directing money capital towards things like innovation, essential infrastructure, stuff that will genuinely help generations down the line.
Right. Not just next quarter's profit.
Exactly. It's about designing financial systems where investments naturally line up with, sustainability, health, justice, progress. That's a big step away from the older models that often focused heavily on extraction or just quick returns. And Bickerstaff stresses this new way really prioritizes being inclusive, building resilience. It forces us to broaden how we even define returns. We have to start including environmental benefits, social dividends.
So return isn't just dollars and cents anymore.
Precisely. And this isn't some fringe idea. It's reshaping everything: venture capital, public-private partnerships, ESG investing, mission-driven lending. It's pushing governments and markets to think beyond the next earnings report and look at generational impact.
That really does change the definition of success, doesn't it? The goal isn't just making more money, but making capital, like smarter, more ethical, ready for the future.
Spot on.
And Bickerstaff lays out some key pillars for this. The first one, maybe the bedrock, is sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely foundational. And his big point on sustainability is that it's not just about managing risk anymore. It's actually becoming the only real path to creating long-term value.
So it's moved from a nice to have.
Exactly, from a side project to a core investment strategy. And what's driving it? Well, obvious things like climate change, resource limits, regulations.
Yeah.
They're making these ESG factors, environmental, social, governance, absolutely critical in evaluating any investment.
And not just on paper, right? It's actually changing where the money flows.
Definitely. The article shifts the thinking here. We often frame sustainability as just doing good, but Bickerstaff really hammers home that it's now a financial must. He talks about funds ignoring climate risks, facing real valuation challenges, serious reputational hits.
Can you give an example? Are companies genuinely hurting financially if they ignore this?
Well, the data suggests yes. The article points out that a lot of big institutional investors now actively screen for ESG performance. And funds that ignore, say, the risks of transitioning away from carbon, they're getting discounted. Or investors see those assets as potentially stranded.
Okay, so the market is starting to price this in.
It is. You see it in the momentum behind things like green bonds, sustainable infrastructure funds, capitals deliberately flowing towards solutions, and startups in clean energy, regenerative agriculture, circular economy stuff. They're attracting serious investment.
And not just because of government help.
No, it's also driven by younger investors demanding their money aligns with their values.
Yeah.
Bickerstaff's core message here is that embedding sustainability isn't just a filter you apply. It's got to be the fundamental framework for how you decide where every dollar goes if you want future value.
Okay, so sustainability changes how capital is allocated. What about the engines of this future investment? Technology must play a massive part in Bickerstaff's view, right?
Oh, absolutely vital. The article flags fields like AI, biotech, quantum computing. These aren't just cool science projects. They need huge strategic funding to get off the ground.
That's where VC comes in.
Exactly. Venture capital, angel investors, accelerators, they're crucial for nurturing those high-risk, high-potential ideas. Plus, you've got corporate R&D, university spinouts. It's a whole ecosystem. And what's really interesting, as Bickerstaff notes, is how public policy is increasingly teaming up with private money to fund this next-gen tech. Things like the HIPAA Act for semiconductors or global AI task forces.
Right, government stepping in to push innovation.
Yes, proactive public investment. But the key thing, and this is crucial, is making sure this innovation capital is inclusive, that it's driven by a mission, aligned with values, so it actually benefits society broadly, not just, a handful of people.
And that idea of inclusivity, the article really emphasizes that inclusive finance is about more than just funding startups. It's about actively closing gaps.
It absolutely is, because the reality is many groups still face huge hurdles getting capital. We're talking underserved communities, women founders, minority-owned businesses.
The traditional system hasn't served them well.
Often not. So Bickerstaff argues that financing the future means actively creating financial tools and policies to tear down those barriers. Things like community development financial institutions, CDFIs that lend specifically in overlooked areas, or impact investing models, inclusive lending, all aiming for shared prosperity.
It sounds like good ethics, but is it good business?
That's the key point the article makes. Inclusion is not charity, it's strategy. It's strategic, because unlocking the potential of everyone leads to broader economic growth, more resilience for the whole system. Leaving people out is just bad economics, really.
Like trying to run the economy with one hand tied behind your back. That's a great way to put it. So if we're talking these huge shifts, how do we actually do it? How do we mobilize the money? It sounds like it needs a massive team effort.
That's exactly what Bickerstaff stresses. Collective action is essential. No single player, not government, not private sector, can do this alone.
Especially for the really big challenges.
Right. Think about rebuilding infrastructure, expanding healthcare, getting digital access to everyone, adapting to climate change. These need enormous coordinated investment.
And that's where things like public-private partnerships come in.
Precisely. PPPs can combine the strategic vision and oversight of the public sector with the efficiency and often the innovation of the private sector. In global efforts like the Sustainable Development Goals or the COP climate agreements, Bickerstaff highlights these as examples of how powerful and also how complex this collective financing can be.
So governments set the direction, markets provide the tools and capital.
In an ideal world, yes. It's about aligning those forces.
And tech isn't just something to finance, it's also a tool for financing, right? Fintech financial technology seems to be changing everything.
Oh, completely. Bickerstaff makes it clear that fintech is breaking down old barriers. It's opening up access to credit, investment tools for literally billions of people. Think microloans, peer-to-peer lending, even decentralized finance or DeFi.
Making things faster, more transparent.
Potentially, yes. But, and this is a big but, he also warns that these powerful tools need careful handling. We need responsible management, sensible regulation, strong consumer protection, and way more digital literacy.
Because the potential for misuse is also there.
Absolutely, especially with something like permissionless DeFi. The risks of exploitation or volatility are unique. We need new ways to think about governance and education there. But well-managed fintech, huge potential to bridge financial divides.
Okay, and then there's the capital that isn't necessarily looking for profit. Philanthropy, mission-driven money.
Yeah.
How does Bickerstaff see that fitting in?
It's a critical piece of the puzzle. He talks about how philanthropy, things like social impact bonds, donor-advised funds, they're vital for funding services and driving changes where the market return just isn't the main goal.
So filling the gaps the market might miss.
Exactly. And he notes how foundations are acting more like venture capitalists these days, testing big ideas in health, education, poverty reduction. They're using mission-related investments too, trying to grow their impact. And then you have blended finance.
Where grants and loans kind of mix.
Yeah, where grants, loans, and maybe equity all come together. Bickerstaff sees that as a powerful catalyst for projects that might otherwise just never get off the ground because they don't fit neatly into traditional funding boxes. It's about aligning mission and money.
Makes sense. But, you can have all these great ideas, but if people don't understand basic finance, Bickerstaff points out that financial literacy is fundamental, right?
Absolutely critical. A cornerstone, really. For individuals, it's about having the knowledge to make smart choices, about saving, investing, managing risk, especially now with complex digital tools everywhere.
Who's responsible for that education?
Well, schools, employers, those digital platforms themselves, they all have a role. And it's not just for everyday people. The article stresses that leaders, policymakers, fund managers, business executives, they need continuous learning too, to keep up with how finance, climate risk, social equity, all these things are evolving.
Knowledge is power, basically.
It really is. Empowering people financially is the bedrock for long-term progress.
Which then brings up the accountability question. If we're changing the definition of return, how do we actually measure what matters?
Yeah, Bickerstaff is really clear on this. We have to broaden how we measure success. Traditional ROI, return on investment, just isn't enough anymore.
So what do we add?
We have to include social return, environmental impact, long-term resilience. Thankfully, there are tools emerging, the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, B Corp standards, various impact assessment frameworks. They're helping companies and investors define what good actually looks like.
Moving beyond just checking boxes.
Right. Transparency, he argues, isn't optional anymore. It's expected. And the data we collect isn't just for reports. It's crucial for building trust, learning what actually works, and correcting course when needed. This rigorous measurement is how we hold ourselves accountable to that future we claim we want.
And at the end of the day, all this innovation, all these new metrics, it comes down to leadership, doesn't it? And legacy.
Yes. The article really lands on that point. Financing the future is ultimately about leadership. It takes vision, courage, and a sense of responsibility to invest in things where you might not even see the final payoff yourself.
Thinking beyond your own tenure, your own lifetime even.
Exactly. The decisions made today by fund managers, CEOs, policymakers directly shape the world the next generation gets. And Bickerstaff has this great closing thought. Legacy is not built on intentions alone. It's built on actions. And when capital is guided by conscience, it leaves a world better than it found.
Powerful.
And he nods to some leaders really driving this. People like Larry Fink pushing ESG, Jacqueline Novogratz with her patient capital model, Kristalina Georgieva at the IMF, Ajay Banga at the World Bank focusing on climate, Roshana Zafar in microfinance. Their work shows what's possible.
That's a really inspiring way to frame it. So for you listening right now, let's try to boil this down. Maybe 3 key takeaways from Bickerstaff's insights. First, financing the future really means aligning money with purpose, thinking about equity, sustainability, long-term value, not just quick profits.
That's number 1.
Second, these new models we talked about, ESG becoming core, impact investing, responsible fintech, they aren't just theories. They are actively changing the financial world right now.
Yeah, the landscape is shifting.
And third, access to capital has to be inclusive. Bringing everyone into the fold isn't just fair, it's actually smarter strategy for unlocking global potential.
Couldn't agree more. Exclusion is bad business.
And if you're thinking, okay, what can I do? Here are maybe 3 ideas inspired by Bickerstaff. 1, start looking at ESG principles in your own investments or maybe your business strategy, even in small ways.
Just start somewhere.
2, support financial literacy, maybe in your community, maybe just educating yourself more on these evolving tools and ideas.
Knowledge is key.
And 3, maybe look into or support partnerships that blend public and private money for positive impact. See when mission-driven capital is working.
Great starting points. And just as vital, Bickerstaff implicitly warns us about pitfalls. Maybe 3 actions not to take. First, don't get tunnel vision on short-term gains if it sacrifices long-term value.
Resisting that pressure.
Second, don't ignore those communities or innovators who've been traditionally shut out from funding. Their potential is crucial.
Actively seek them out.
And third, don't treat ESG like it's just a PR exercise or a box to tick. Real impact needs genuine strategic commitment.
It has to be authentic.
Exactly. Which brings up a final thought for you to chew on. Given Bickerstaff's powerful idea that capital is a vote for the world we want, how might your own financial decisions, where you bank, where you invest, the companies you buy from, even just how you talk about money, how might those choices already be casting votes for a certain kind of future? And maybe, what's one small intentional shift you could make, starting today, to cast a vote that feels more deliberate, more aligned with the future you actually hope to see?
That's a really provocative question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into financing the future. We really hope these insights give you food for thought, maybe guide some of your own thinking or decisions.
Yeah, it's complex stuff.
It is, but staying informed about how these financial landscapes are changing isn't just interesting. It feels pretty essential for navigating the world ahead and hopefully making a positive difference. Thanks for listening.